Hello everyone, my name is Boris, bringing you another WOD review. Day 1 of the Bilgewater Cup, where the Tier 1 pros of EU and America were playing in mixed groups, has completed. And when going through some of these games, I noticed a particular thing, which is that Quintanilha here was pretty much hard forcing a single comp every single game. Therefore, let's jump in a game with him and see how he always managed to find his way into the spot and what choices he made such that to be able to play into this comp. We are starting off here in the Teemo encounter, which would allow us to sometimes hard force these particular comps, particularly ones that might require a little bit more of an econ. And we are starting out with a Void start, and we have Spike as our first option. However, it seems to be that these days people prefer to play with Leeching Nucleus around the Kai'Sa, as that allows her to stall the front line even more. We're going to sell to make 10, which is a little rarer in this patch. If you generally wish to stay more open, you would quite often sacrifice making the 10 gold in order to have your best board and play for tempo. Coming up on the augments, we have Makeshift Armor, which generally is not the greatest option on 2-1s, but probably past that, same as we do with Warpath. My default 2-trick here for now as an option to perhaps give us a clearer direction. However, since we have a particular game plan, we're tied to lean into particular augments. We do hit too much value, which is a clear indication in this patch, particularly to play into the Ishtal reroll. Seems to be the best out at the moment. You could also play into something like Echo or Yasuo, however those comps require hitting very early on tempo, while Ishtal reroll has the potential to win out. And another thing with the Ishtal reroll in this 4-cost dominant meta is that you are playing two quite uncontested 4-cost units. As in, when everyone's rolling for their 3-star Garens, Luxes, Lissandras, Broms, you have Skarner, which generally no one seems to unlock these days because the lobbies are mostly AP dominated, and the Skarner had some nerfs a couple of patches ago, and Nidalee, which, unless there's an Echo player, is also going to be uncontested. Plus, if you're playing into Ishtal reroll, you are generally seeking for these reroll augments, such as Too Much Value or Prismatic Ticket, and if you're staying level 8, you can just spam your rerolls and definitely have an advantage over the playing field to unlock those. Now, we saw that there was another Ishtal player, therefore that might be a little concerning for us, as generally they would also be looking to unlock the Skarner or Nidalee. Therefore, that's another one of the comps that might contest us. However, they oftentimes also just bypass playing a Nidalee, as they don't get the Nikos, and we already have picked up the Nico too. Slam the JG here, which can be used for a Bard or a Milio, and later on transitioned onto a Nidalee. Now we've opted to simply slot in the board that's going to farm us as many rerolls as we can. Managed to pick up a couple of wins already, which is quite nice for us. Coming up in the carousel, we opt to go for another Nico to just get these Nikos out and get the Nidalee online as soon as possible, plus it's Declaw, which for a comp that generally tends to lack a little bit of a frontline is going to be quite nice. And also we know that we want to save a single cloak for a stone plate. Therefore, I would assume that we're going to bypass the slam for now. Also going to itemize the Vi to unlock an Orianna, which fits in on this board very nicely, and the unlock condition for Orianna having to change to only itemize a Piltover unit makes this comp gives this comp a little bit of an extra edge. Going to opt to go for Blast Shields here, as I believe this is still to be the best option for particularly this comp, as it tends to lack in the frontline department until you get to this Skarner. This might have been the reason why we chose to take another cloak, as we can then definitely complete our frontline items as quick as possible, and since we are saving for this stone plate, we do want to ensure that possibility of that. Having ending the stage here on a 3 loss, completely fine for us, as we are not particularly chasing 2 wins right now. We're going to want to spike on the 3-2. Holding on to extra copies of Kiana. And we managed to get dropped 2 more Kianas, so it might be a rare Kiana 3 game as well, which is certainly something I have not seen people play around. Going to slam a Void Staff here. Unfortunately, didn't get a chain, therefore we would be looking to see a Skarner unlock perhaps later in the stage 4. Now, this comes to rerolls on level 6. So, for a Skarner unlock, you would need to get to level 7. Facing off another AP Demacia board, which is quite strong with an upgraded Vi as well. Therefore, expected to drop rounds now until we get to a upgraded backline. Blood Offering, not that great, but it works only on really in Slayer melee heavy comps. Even though we're going for Kiana 3, we're not particularly building itemization towards her. Epic Roll Down again is going to be something that is very strong in the current meta if you have enough raw gold to go to level 8 and have the gold to buy these units. But that's not our game plan, therefore might stick onto the salvage bin, gives us extra items, which this comp very much likes, just like many reroll comps, and allows us to slam whatever, remake our items as we have slammed the declaw. In case we do not get another cloak, we have the option to go for a stone plate. Jeweled Load is generally a very strong option, even though we have slammed a JG already. Looks like we're by default to that. No, we're going to go for salvage bin. And we get our stone plate right away from there. Going to do our roll down here, pick up a Bard 2 already. Have more Vise coming in. Going to hold on to these Aphelioses, but I assume we're not going to really play them. Getting close to our Kiana 3. Now, it looks like he opts to chase this Nico and only then slot an Ishtal itself. As well, we have not seen Milio either. I have also seen players here roll aggressively for that Milio to get those extra resources generated. And our Bard Prince is a unit. We do pick up a Kiana 3 quite early, so it's, I mean, you would say it's for free. It does cost us 6 gold at least though. However, we're going to opt to slot in a board that's going to maximize our rerolls right now. This is another neat thing that you can do with this comp. That if you have the front line and the back line somewhat sorted, you can just opt to go perform 3 rolls a turn. We are quite healthy, so we are fine to do that, and we are also able to manage pick up a win. Because if there are people sacking to go to level 8, not playing as much as tempo in stage 3 as generally there might have been, you can definitely opt to go for such an option. I would assume that we might start looking for more damage items right now. Maybe let's pick up a Garen with a tier. Now, the reason why also Ishtal plays so nicely into this current 4-cost reroll meta is, if we may give me an option to pull it up here. Now, if we look here at the Ishtal cash out tables, we can see that at 350 we have a 20% chance to get a golden dupe, and at 450 we have a chance to get a golden dupe. Generally for a reroll comp you would want to chase the 200, you can cash a couple out of those to see the quarter of a chance at getting a double dupe. However, 4-cost reroll meta, and if you hit one of these dupes, you are very close to hitting your 3-star 4-cost. Therefore, let's learn to return to the game. Able to pick up an early Seraphine, which I might hold on to, or I'm not sure. Because debating to put up an Echo, I think picking an Echo to get the extra rerolls in here would have been nice, but going to unlock it in the league here. I'm going to get our Ishtal quest, probably rolling the turn after. Having also holding on to these extra Tarics for our, I would assume at level, but we level 8. Now able to slot an Ishtal. Now, unfortunately, these quests are in Spanish. Let's see if we can infer. Buying 68 XP here, not exactly what we want. Deal, this would be, I would assume deals 4,000 damage, and our items are on board right now. We could try to transition them only into Italy since Kian is not going to do it, but I'm not sure. And I would assume this is, well, this can be lose due to the amount of shards received. Perhaps units die. No, let's see. We picked up a quest. Maybe it was to block also 4,000 damage. If we have is a block 4,000 damage, that's definitely something we can complete. Against the already I can unlock Kaisa with interesting itemization. But yeah, okay, this was blocked 1,000 damage. Now we have Field Emilio 2. Armor, I believe 125 armor in the combat, which we could, I believe, complete if we check with the stone plate here. However, I'm not sure if they changed it to unlock to not proc during neutrals anymore. And this would be lose three combats in a row. We're going to go for the armor, so let's see if it still works in a PvE round scenario, because there was some debate when Asian Iverson was going for this earlier in the game, in the different game. And he did not manage to hit a threshold, however the counter did not show either. Yeah, so it appears that it might not work anymore during PvE, it's a good thing to make note. Able to pick up an early Nico 3, and we also high roll a Nidalee 2. Now this is one of those things when everyone's pulling out forecasts, even with your unlock forecasts, are going to have a little bit easier of a chance of being picked up. I'm going to opt to slam a Crown Guard on JG Hodge combo on the Nidalee right away. Very neat thing about Salvage Bin, also while it's regarded such as a high value augment in the game. Coming up on our last augment, double dupes is something that we could consider. However, I would be leaning more here towards Staffsmith, something that will allow us, as we are playing around 3 AP units, and I believe we don't have our anti-heal sorted. Plus we have a salvage bin that we could just use these rods for something, right? More extra gold to 3/3s, little buddies, not something particularly. There we go, we get our Staffsmith. Coming up on the, again, our Ishtal quests. I would believe this one is no items on the bench for 3 rounds. And the other two I would not be able to exactly figure out, but that's the one we want to. And we can just slam our items. I'm going to keep stacking up our Ishtal shards, going to level 7, Peel and just an Arcanist to get that extra AP on our 12 team. Able to transition the Crown Guard. This Gunblade probably transitions quite nicely on the Nidalee. However, we're going to opt for the full damage build, or it nicely spotted that we can just, yeah, we can make a Shojin here if we sacrifice the Gunblade and just go full damage. Nidalee too, as nothing's going to be really taking care of this Nico for quite a while. Going up against an ASOL board that we're just able to gank as the ASOL is ramping. Interesting to see what spot they ended up in playing at ASOL, but as ASOL now, since the changes, requires very particular spots in these higher elo lobbies where you are going to get punished quite hard, particularly in stage 4. And the meta is to stay level 8, so, but well, you have to go level 9 to be able to actually cap out with an ASOL too. Then you have a chance to win, and even if you do, you just might lose the 3-star forecast. Now we're going to opt to play for around this Nidalee, sorry, this Seraphine that we have picked up a pair of by playing around a Azir. Interesting to see. Going up against the Lysandra Seraphine board from Revan, able to make an easy work of that, as they do not have seem to hit. This is another thing that we're doing by holding onto these couple of Seraphines. We are definitely denying all the Lysandra Seraphine players. Pinging already, coming in on 4-5 carousel, on 4-4 carousel, as people are chasing these 3-star forecasts. We have the Ambassadors already. They are picking Alchems, they could enable that. Able to complete an Archangels here with an off-throw from the carousel. And it looks like we're not going to be rerolling anymore. We believe, okay, we have this Nidalee 2 picked up, and this should be enough for us. Let's just make our way to level 8 and see what we can if we complete any backline carry there. Going up against the Demacia board from Bud Jungler. We do have that Shred online. If you don't have a Shred or Sunder against the Demacia boards, you're going to have a very hard time. However, this Nidalee 2 is definitely doing its job. Milio 2 in combat. We have a Milio pair, we could consider it. 20 units die or lose 4 combats in a row. We're going to go for the safe choice of 20 units. Definitely don't want to be losing combats anymore. And we opt to not want to level here, as that is a very slow paced quest. Now we can see this corner 2 coming in as well. We have not played around this corner yet because we have had this stone plate on the Nico. And it would not exactly field into for us. However, I believe there are variations where you can definitely play around 5-ish though. However, since we did not have this Milio for quite a while, we opted not to. So definitely you can see that Quintanilha has perfected this line, as some games he is playing around the 5-ish stall with a Skarner that we're going to unlock now, and then we could slot out the Swain with a Quintanilha and be able to do such. So unlock the Skarner, pop the Anvil. Going to opt to go for what I believe to become a Spirit Redemption. Yeah, this way we can sort out an anti-heal, get the Stone Plate going. Oh, double Stone Plate, alright. Now, this is the thing of this comp. Your only frontline really right now is a Nico, therefore perhaps the double Stone Plate with the Warmog is going to do wonders. Going with an AP Kai'Sa with the Titans. Now, they have this chunk of a frontline that we are not able to have enough damage to burst through. Rift Herald just stalling us for now. Definitely want an extra supporting a carry for that. Going up for a big level 8 roll down, already be able to pick up 6 Nidalees. 7 Nidalees. And we are one of Bard. Now, has somebody already pinged this? I didn't catch because they are pinging someone else also. Going up against an ASO 2, the ASO player has made it up there. Therefore, it seems that, yeah, we're going to drop around. We're not able to get through the front line. ASO 2, Fiddle 2, Tariq 2. We just do not have the exact damage from to beat this Kibixon's board. Now, will they be able to win out based off that? Going to opt to go for a cash here. As we want the extra resources due to being low on life, going to opt to shop Shyvana for the Azir. Able to finally pick up a Bard 3. We are not close to hitting anything else, as Ori 3 is extremely contested if you need to hit on a level 6. Therefore, quite a times if you're playing this comp, you might not even have a chance to go for it. We're going to keep rolling here while we're fighting a Seraphine the Soundra board from Hypno, who have not managed to hit much, so therefore it should be a free picking. See, it's only a Braum 2. That is the real threat on the board, able to take them out. And we are just wanting to roll, as I don't think there's anyone that could deny this immediately from us. However, we are also chasing to deny other people's units. Going to opt to go for a death cap here. That just gives us an extra bit of damage we can slot on, or we can opt to also, with the salvage bin, to perhaps change something. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter really which quest they're picking up, as they're most likely not going to be completing it till they're in the game. Just trying to see if we can chase this Nidalee 3. Going to opt slot in the death cap. Yeah, transition the Void Staff to Seraphine. That's going to be nicely applying it. Still not able to get there, fighting against the Kai'Sa board again with the Rift Herald. Now that we have the backline damage, we're able to get it. The Nidalee also gets in the backline to able to tag the Kai'Sa and able to take it out. Now, with unlocking, we do hit the Nidalee 3 here. Right? I was going to say, with unlocking the Azir, the Renekton here, we do have the option that we are filling our pool more. This is something that one has to be wary of when playing for these 3-star 4-cost 3 rolls. Okay, we're fighting Mbessa 3, so let's see the Nidalee Mbessa 3. This is going to be a very birthday matchup. However, since the invulnerability on the Nidalee is there from the Nico, we are able to clear their weak side, and Mbessa just does not get to reset on the Nico, and Nidalee is able to take her out. Now that we've eliminated our biggest threat in the game, we have to just be playing some defense, holding on already onto a Lux to deny the Demacia player. Just going to pick up a third item for the Seraphine. Doing a little bit of scouting around, seeing they're not going for Lux 3, so they're just hoping to admit that they are going for Garen, it seems. Therefore we have to be wary of Garens. Also, in a way, we're positioning this so that the Nico does not get him instant aggro, so that Nidalee's time alive can be optimized. Fighting against an ASO 2, and very close fight, as the ASO's splash damage is definitely hitting the Nidalee and is not protected by Nico. However, thankfully we're on the correct side to be able to bypass that. Able to also find all of the... Well, we picked up a Garen, but we also opted to omit it. Because, yeah, the Demacia player has died. That would have been by the jungler. Fighting against the Brock from Pokegum. Now this should be easy pickings. with the Elite 3 does not really pose an exact threat now. However, the last couple of matches we could see that even if you hit the 3-star forecast, it's definitely not a guaranteed win. But it's very nice to see how Quintanilha has perfected this line and has been one-tricking it coming into the Bilgewater Cup. And I hope that you learned something new as I did, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.